In my first impression video, I focused on the story shortcuts which creators use to introduce their fictional world as quickly as possible. They need us to immerse ourselves in it, to believe it is real, whether we are in post-apocalyptic wasteland, Middle Ages, or entirely fictional world doesn't matter. Now, let's look at how these shortcuts work in a particular genre that works with one of the most natural emotions: fear. The first thing the developers explain to us is the butterfly effect. Our decisions affect the story's development, and the outcome can be unique. While that's not entirely true, the crossroads at which you must decide can close a character arc or end their storyline. Either way, the goal is to create pressure. Don't fuck it up, or you'll die. In a straight cut, we move to a mountain cabin surrounded by night and gripped by a blizzard. Just to make damn sure something goes wrong, someone with a bloody machete is making the rounds outside. The devs don't bother with foreplay and get straight down to business. This is a teen slasher after all. Inside the cabin, a group of young people are about to catch Hannah, one of the twins whose family owns the cabin. Hannah tries to seduce Mike, who is already in a relationship. Most of the gang decides to humiliate her. We're getting out first character types. The types that stand out the most are the sensible girl Sam, the sensitive, naive Hannah, and the alpha male Mike. Of course, each character gets more space later, but the player's sympathies are set relatively quickly in exposition. As Hannah enters the room where Mike and the hidden crew are waiting for her, her sister Beth discovers that someone is moving around the cabin. Honestly, I'd be pretty scared in a situation like this, especially if I was in a cabin with a bunch of selfish teenagers.
Fuck this. Fuck.
Beth tries to wake up Josh, her drunk older brother, but is unsuccessful. Hannah meanwhile gets humiliated, and because she has no instinct for self-preservation, she heads out into the freezing night. Beth follows her. Mike wants to join her, but Beth turns him down. The rest of the party returns to the cabin as the two girls run through the dark woods in a freezing blizzard. The following part works as a tutorial. You practice the QTE, find the totem, and make a decision. This is where the game tricks us a bit, because the outcome of the prologue is the same no matter what you do. In terms of building atmosphere and inducing fear, the game relies on typical clichés: darkness, strange sounds, terrifying phenomena, and fear of the unknown. The mechanics of totems are worth mentioning. Looking into the totem reveals a snippet of a future event. It fosters a sense of fateful urgency and a desire to repeat the chapter to achieve a different outcome. Beth finds Hannah and things take off quickly. The sisters get spooked by something in the woods and go on the run. Unfortunately, they find themselves at a dead end. Hannah pulls Beth into the abyss, leaving them together on the cliff. It's up to you to decide whether to let one sister go or fall together. The developers present us with another false choice. The first time through, of course, the necessity of the decision hits you. But if the outcome upsets you and you want to see if the situation could have been resolved differently, you find it wasn't. This is a prologue, so the linearity makes sense. But it may confuse some people. The cutscene with the Psychoanalyst played by Peter Stormare follows. As if Peter Stormare isn't scary enough, his performance is odd from the start. It's inadvertently aided by facial animation, making it look like Peter is getting convulsions. But it serves the purpose. You're not supposed to feel comfortable here, just as you're not supposed to know who you control in the session. Psychoanalyst sums up the essence of the butterfly effect and communicates with us in a way that blurs the distinction between game character and player. These intermezzos are already typical of supermassive games today. The following title sequence foreshadows what is to come. From an interview listened to by Sam, a sensible girl traveling on a bus through an icy landscape, we fill in the information regarding the events. A year has passed. Twins Hannah and Beth are still missing, and the police are looking for a man who may be connected to the whole event. We learn that the mountain cabin is located near an abandoned sanitarium, and the place has always attracted tragic events. Sam watches a video where Josh, the brother of the missing sisters, thanks everybody for their support in getting through the difficult times and mentions that he has invited all those involved in the tragic night to another night of passion at the mountain cabin. This is important to him, and he believes his missing sisters would also appreciate it. This is where logic must give way to the demands of genre. I can't really see anyone going to a mountain cabin a year after the unexplained disappearance of the young girls, especially when a suspicious person in the area might have something to do with the disappearance. Do the protagonists have a survival instinct? Or at least parents? Josh's invitation, however sincere, is filmed in a dark room. That gives it a somewhat dark undertone. While I understand that the whole game is set in a dark mood, it feels like all the protagonists suffer from the light blindness because they never turn on the lights. I don't know how you guys partied back in the day, but noise and lots of light accompanied our events.
Guys, there's a few too many people. Oh, honey, please don't throw up. No!
The ominous title sequence continues and Sam gets off at the lonely Blackwood Pine stop. As a father, I can't let it go unnoticed how little Sam is dressed for the winter that apparently reigns around here. The heroes of Until Dawn generally don't dress much. It's a small thing in the game context, but it just slightly spoiled my immersion. The spot where Sam is dropped off by the bus is creepy, and the creators push the envelope even further by showing us part of the silhouette again, machete in hand. I guess that's to ensure we don't forget that a life is at stake here. According to the game, Sam is caring, considerate and adventurous, which she proves to us in the following tutorials. We are introduced to the opposite of a QTE, where you cannot move the controller instead of tapping buttons quickly. Next, totems are explained in more detail, and we make the first butterfly effect decisions that affect what characters say to each other and, ultimately, their fate. The whole system is less complex than it might seem. However, the developers evoke a sense of fatality for a first playthrough. Sam meets Chris, an organized, protective, witty young man with a crush on Ashley. The tutorial continues with a traditional American pastime: shooting. You even get to shoot a squirrel. This section is connected to the butterfly effect. From the haunted forest we move on to the haunted cable car. Chris and Sam encounter a few more suspicious things here. However, as self-centered young people, they ignore them and discuss their feelings. They tell us about themselves and the past. Chris regales us with a story from his childhood to further explain the butterfly effect. It's time to move on to Jess, the confident, trusting and irreverent girl. Jess had been dating Mike, Emily's partner, until a year ago. As you can probably guess, the situation will be the source of many awkward jokes and remarks. During Jess's encounter with Chris and Sam, Chris acts like an idiot, and the number of likable characters dwindles. Fortunately, we soon meet the star of the night, Emily. Intelligent, resourceful and persuasive. Mike's ex-girlfriend has snagged Matt the jock, a motivated, ambitious and active boy in a tracksuit. I initially disliked Emily and was bothered by her demeanor and voice. A fresh couple who seem very equal are scared off by Mike, an intelligent, dogged and persuasive alpha male who you don't like at the beginning of the game, but have a lot of fun with later on. The awkward conversation can go two ways, but the result is the same. Emily remembers she wants to talk to Sam and leaves Matt. So Matt, the athlete, sets off with the suitcases to meet the inevitable fate. And that's Ashley, an academic, curious and direct girl who likes Chris. Ashley sees Mike and Emily talking. She gets scared by Matt and has the opportunity to deny or reveal what she saw. I choose not to pry because it's more in my nature, but you can make Ashley a bitch, from start to finish. At this point, we've sufficiently set our expectations and we are back to Jessica. The blonde girl, whom I thought would have frozen, sees Mike, Because youth and love are warming, she and Mike embark on a snowball fight that ends in an icy white blanket. You can top off the snow-white romance with a kiss or a snowball in Mike's face. I, being a die-hard romantic, have succumbed to the kiss. The game shifts back to a special session with the creepy Peter Stormare. The more astute among you will understand that the real test subject here is us, the players. It's quite an exciting concept that works fundamentally with how we behave in the game, what we do and why. We are the ones who make the decisions for the characters in the story, and we are the ones who will decide their existence or non-existence. Most of the friends finally arrive at their destination, where Josh, the complicated, considerate and loving brother of the missing sisters, awaits them. For some reason, Josh hasn't opened the cabin yet and soon discovers that the log has frozen. He and Chris set out to find another entrance and fill the journey with a manly conversation about winning women's hearts. And not just hearts. I have had a lot of stupid discussions in my life, but I don't remember being so expressive about someone I care about. However, an hour of playing here ends, and we can summarize what the creators have presented. The primary goal, of course, was to induce fear and anxiety. Staying overnight in a giant cabin in the middle of the dark forest and in winter can be romantic. But all you have to do is light the cabin with the cold colors and let someone walk by. Fear of the unknown is the building block of scary stories, and when you add in the seemingly unexplainable, like wild movement in the bushes and flames crackling, you're set. And that's a concept that developers work with for at least the game's first hour. They could have skimmed on the jump scares, which get tiresome very quickly. Overusing them felt cheap because the atmosphere worked well enough, and the cheap jump scares detracted from the game. The first hour of Until Dawn is about introducing the characters and setting the atmosphere. I've already mentioned that the developers mainly work with character types here: kind, sensible, sensitive, brave, unpleasant. The player's sympathies certainly vary. None of the characters in Until Dawn deserve the horrific mental and physical torture that awaits them, and they certainly don't deserve to die. The moment the characters were afraid or fighting for their lives, I sympathized with them and wanted to save them. It's another exciting contrast because I didn't like almost anyone after the first hour. Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments. And if you want me to cover other supermassive titles, subscribe and like. I'm looking forward to the following video. Ciao!